I wanted to show you guys this game because although I don't play too many shoot 'em ups to be fair, this one strikes me as being pretty unique. It was only released digitally in most of the world, but Japan got it as a physical release as part of the Guild 01 game bundle by level 5, which doesn't seem as hard to get hold of as I would have expected. Apparently there was also a port that existed of this for iOS, but otherwise it is a 3DS exclusive. As you'd expect, you use the control stick to move around and to dodge attacks, but what's a bit more unusual is that you aim your own attacks using the touchscreen. Your default weapon is a homing missile. You swipe the pointer over your targets to lock onto them, and then you lift up the stylus to fire. The second weapon is a laser beam that fires continuously while you're touching the trackpad. This is a faster attack than the missiles are, but it also requires you to be more precise, because you have to be aiming at individual enemies, while with the missiles you can kind of just swipe all over the screen and it'll lock onto everything for you. These weapons are very powerful, but what balances them out is the fact that they pull from the same power supply as your shields do. So this means that the more missiles you fire, or the longer you use your laser, then the more vulnerable you become. Your shields do regenerate fairly quickly, but they also do deplete very quickly, and this creates a constant push and pull where you're attacking and then having to evade because you've been left vulnerable. This also means that you have less ammunition to use if you get hit too much, because getting hit is another way that your shields get depleted. You do have a strafe button that you can use to help you to avoid these attacks, but I often found myself just backing out of range after making an attack, especially if I was getting chased by homing missiles. Liberation Maiden is a very short game with a very high production value. It feels like they really went all out on it just because they wanted to, and as a result it is brimming with character. I imagine they must have been very careful and very efficient with how they used their budget, because as I mentioned, this game is so short that it feels like they probably didn't have an awful lot to work with, but the quality is so high on this, it is great. It uses a beautiful anime art style with a few well animated cutscenes, and the dialogue is all fully voice acted, even though I would say that there isn't really an awful lot of actual story to this game. One annoyance that I do have with this, though, is that the gameplay gets interrupted so frequently by the dialogue. I mean, the voice acting is great. I would be happy to listen to it in the background while I'm flying around, but I wish it didn't keep pausing the gameplay. You can skip past it, but then that feels like I'm wasting that great voice acting.
We're picking it up on radar, but the snow is making it difficult to pinpoint. Try to use the energy veins to locate it.
I don't mind a little cold. I'll hunt it down.
I found it pretty overwhelming to look at first because of how flashy it is. But as I got used to the game a bit more, it became really easy to pick everything out because of how consistent the visuals are. Stuff that you shoot at usually looks quite industrial and is down below you. Stuff you avoid getting shot by is either purple or red and flying towards you, and stuff that you've already shot grows plant life on it and becomes very green and beautiful. This consistency makes it easy to pick out what you're looking for and to focus on what's important in the moment, no matter how flashy things get. There are though some bosses that I feel don't make things clear enough. There's the boss on the third stage, which has an attack that's so hard to see coming that for a while I didn't actually think you could avoid it, particularly as it triggers a gimmick where you have to waggle the control stick backwards and forwards as fast as you can to break free. And initially I thought that the reason I was taking damage was just because I was being too slow. I didn't even realize that I could avoid getting hit by that attack. This isn't too much of an issue on normal difficulty because you have enough health to tank a few hits like that, but on hard difficulty you really need to be able to avoid those attacks, and because of this I actually failed in attempting to replay the game on hard. There's one other boss that has a major visual issue, and that's the final boss. I won't show it to you in case you want to play this game for yourself, but there's one phase that the final boss has where it puts up this big gold shield thing, and it looks nothing at all like any of the stuff you've dealt with before. When I was first trying to beat the boss, I thought that maybe you just had to survive for long enough for it to put the shield away again, because I couldn't see anything that you were clearly meant to hit, and it was just so confusing for me to look at. But actually there are points on the shield which you need to shoot for it to put the shield away again. It's just that they are designed to look completely different from everything else that you've had to shoot before that. I think the assistant does actually give you some hints there, but the music by default is so loud that it almost completely drowns him out, so I had no idea on my first playthrough, and I actually looked up a guide for how to deal with the final boss. I was so confused by it. Overall though, this was a really fun game, and I was glad to go back to it for this review. I found it really memorable, and I imagine at some point in the future I'll probably end up picking it up again. And maybe I'll actually finally beat the hard mode next time. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about this game. And as ever, don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe, and don't you dare leave a comment down below, you little